Okay. So you heard AWS use the terms developer advocate, DevRel, Dev Relationships, Evangelist, Dev Avocado. Wait, that might just be an internal term. Shh, don't tell anyone. Or specialist. Are you looking to understand all these roles and why AWS created them? Or maybe how you can join or apply specifically for these roles? Joining me today is none other than the head of Developer Advocate Specialist at AWS, Romain Jourdan. He's going to explain each one of these roles and what they mean and how you can get involved or apply to them. Now, I'll have a link in the description below to the latest roles that Romain is actually hiring for. Oh, and not to mention that we're going to talk about AWS's hiring process, including their leadership principles. And yes, they take them very seriously. Okay, before I bring Romain onto the show, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify. Please join me in welcoming the head of Developer Advocate Specialist at AWS, Romain Jourdan. Romain, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Romain, I'm really super excited about this interview because it's a huge passion of mine to talk about developer advocates, evangelists, DevRel, and we're going to get into those. But what does the head of developer advocate specialist do at AWS?
My main role would be to take care of my team, have them grow and them in their job, because their job is to engage with the community, and my job is to help them, doing that and removing all the barriers that they are facing, and also inspiring them to do more sometimes, or to think differently. So that's part of my job. A big part of my job is to take care of the team, and the other part is to grow the team, is to define what the team should become in 3 years from now, and work with our recruiters, with our network of candidates to find the next talent to join the team, and inspire others to build on AWS.
Spoken like a true leader, you're focused on the team and growing the team. And we're going to talk about a number of those roles that you have open in a few moments. But I do like the leadership ability that you just spoke about, because that really drives and engages not only your team, but the community.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I have to ask, because there are a number. Let's get into what is an AWS developer advocate. What do they do? I mean, I know there's a number of roles that we're going to talk about, and I know there's a number of titles that we're going to talk about, but let's just talk about this one.
Sure. Okay. So my group is part of the developer relation organization within AWS, and actually across AWS we have different people who are in a developer relation type of role. So we have developer advocates in different parts of the organization. I would say that we have three flavors of developer advocates within AWS. We have the first one, which is DAs in the service team. So meaning that they are embedded with the product teams. When I joined AWS, actually, I joined the container org. So the one in charge of product like Amazon ECS, EKS, ECR. So everything related to containers. And my job was to lead a team of DA who are really focusing on containers. So their job is to really engage with the community externally to talk about containers, about the trends, what are the open source tools that are powerful for people to know whenever they are building application in the cloud, and giving them best practices or good practices depending on the maturity of the technology, and also collect the needs from that community, and go back to the service team with the product engineers to shape the roadmap, to enhance our features, to propose new services that are going to address some of the problems that the community is facing. So the role of a developer advocate, what I call a DA, right, developer advocate, in a service team is really going in both directions, inbound and outbound. Outbound meaning engaging with the community, creating content, And inbound means collecting feedback, collecting requirements from the community, and working within AWS and represent that community inside. So that's the service team DAs. On the other side of the spectrum of DAs, we have the DAs in the regions. So they used to be called technical evangelists because their role is really to evangelize and to talk about AWS and to build communities of AWS developers, what we call builders actually, because there's not only software developers, we have different type of builders, and we can talk about that later on. But really their job is to talk about everything AWS in their geo. So their scope is local, but they talk about everything AWS, okay? And they belong to the DevRel organization at AWS. And my team is kind of in the middle. So my group of specialists, they are focusing on persona. So as I said earlier, we talk about builders. And actually what we recognize is that we have different type of builders who are building stuff on AWS. Of course, we think about the software engineers, the front-end engineers, the back-end engineers who are going to create application, but there are a lot of other people who are very technical, hands-on technical people who are building on AWS. So we have cloud architects or cloud engineers who are operating on AWS. We have data scientists, data engineers who are creating, data lakes and using analytics on AWS to create great application. We have, infrastructure people. We have security people. So we have different type of technical persona who are building on the cloud. And my team specialized in those specific personas. So I have a group of people who are focusing on data scientists, and they talk mostly about AI ML, and they represent the needs of those communities internally as well with the different service teams. So we are not working with one service team. We're working with a group of teams, of product teams internally. So to guide and enhance the experience end-to-end for the specific persona on AWS. So for example, a software developer, a .NET developer, for example, is not just interested in running their application on Lambda, for example, or on containers. They are interested in the full journey to get there. So it starts with tools that you can integrate in your IDE. It also encompasses storage or databases or compute. So there are many aspects of interest for a particular persona, and my team specializes really in understanding their needs, representing those needs internally, and influence the roadmap of many services, so to build solutions that are relevant for customers.
I know when I was at AWS, and it's almost actually been a year now, and actually I can go back like 2 years. These types of roles there weren't many of them, right? There was only a handful of developer advocates, evangelist roles. I know I was looking for a couple while I was there, and they were very infrequent. But recently, and the reason that I reached out to you on LinkedIn the one time is because I saw like probably 15, 20 roles start to pop up in the feed, or even on Twitter. I was like, oh my God, Romain, this is crazy on all the number of roles. Have you seen how critical it is for companies, and including AWS, to have these type of roles, to have the community engagement and to, I want to say evangelize, but actually talk about these services and bring them back internally?
Yeah, I think why is that critical? I think the success of AWS has always been with builders, right? The people who believed in AWS, saw the power, the potential of building amazing application on AWS, and this is where we come from. This is coming from the builders who are, who took a leap forward and really built some amazing stuff. So think about the Netflix, so the Airbnb, all the massive startup that started from nothing and built a huge business. So so we have always been supporting those type of builders, and over time we have maybe a bit shifted our attention to more big enterprise companies because they started to adopt the cloud, and this is where our account team are focusing on. They are focusing on really taking care of those enterprise customers and accompanying them in their transformation to the business to the cloud. But the long tail of customers needs to be taken care of. And the service and the model that we have used since the beginning is a self-service model. And this is where DAs are playing a big role because we are engaging in one-to-many. So as opposed to a solution architect, for example, who is really focusing on a set of accounts or on a territory, we really engage with the community, the long tail of customers. So they could be external people who are not customers at all, and we engage with them and try to understand what they want, and we are trying to represent their needs internally as well. Because as you know, as a former Amazonian, Amazon is all about working backwards from customers, and to be able to work backwards from customers, you need to listen to them, you need to interact with them, and not just a few, but ideally all the community.
As a DA, I think it's very critical to engage socially, to actually be within the groups, to kind of go out there and talk to a number of people. Your whole job is really to actually listen to the community and talk about, I mean, you're not only talking about AWS and the specific personas and areas that you're in, but you're listening and you're bringing your expertise to them, and they're telling you, hey, well, this is what I'm using it for, and they're taking it back internally. My next question for you is that this role, if you take Amazon out of the picture, so AWS out of the picture, do you think other companies should be adopting this type of role and the value that it provides? Because I mean, you know my answer. I love doing this stuff. I love talking to people, but I find it very critical.
Yeah, I've seen, over the past 3 or 4 years, a big increase of those roles happening on the market. I will remain a bit critical on that because I think for many companies, they are basically rebranding what the technical marketing engineer was doing, meaning that they want someone technical who can engage with their audience, their technical audience, to create content, to use their product, guide them using their products. That's great, and there's a lot of commonalities with a DevRel Advocate role. They write blogs, they create videos, they create demos, and they can also do podcasts. So that's all good. Where I'm missing a bit is that the first feature of a good DA for me is that they remain a builder. They are not a marketing person per se. They are a builder. So whenever they use one of our services at AWS, for example, they don't do hello world. They really create something meaningful. As if they were sitting at a customer and building the next generation of application. That's the value of a DevRel Advocate. You need to remain a builder yourself. And that's how you earn trust with the community, and that's how you are part of that community. So for example, in my team, I have a Java expert. He's not only talking about AWS, he's talking about Java and what are the best practices in Java. What can you do with Java 17 or now 18 soon? And how do you move from Java 6 or 8 to Java 17? Nothing about AWS here, because you need to be part of that community, to understand their challenges. You need to really, if you want to relate with them, you need to build and feel the pain that they are feeling. So you can participate to the solution. and not just throwing products at the community, but really understand what they are, the challenges that they are facing, and indeed explain how they can use some great tools to achieve what they want, but also identifying the problems that they are facing and going back to the sales team and say, hey, what can we do there? What if we could improve that experience for that particular audience? That's, I think, the main benefits. So yeah, more roles are opening on the market. I think it really depends on what the company wants from the developer advocates, and also how much they understand the value of a developer advocate.
I think that's critical in understanding the value that a developer advocate brings. Okay, so I'm a builder, and I want to use the example of, okay, I want to apply at AWS. And this question is out there is for everybody listening. You're a builder, right? Should I apply for a developer advocate role, a DevRel role? Now, you said evangelist is really a DevRel now, right? Or, okay, so now I only have two. I've marked it down. How do I know which one to apply for? I mean, they all sound interesting to me.
Okay, so first of all, let's discuss about the features we are looking for in a DI. And then, as I said, the main one is to be a builder. You need to be technical. You need to be, implementing stuff and having that experience of migrating to the cloud your infrastructure, or creating new application in the cloud, or so you need that background. So to be relevant and be able to guide others. That's the main feature that we are looking for. The second one is being a good communicator, because you can be the best engineer, but if you are not able to inspire others and guide them and also adapt your talks to the audience, because not everybody is an expert in everything. Some are reconverting, some are trying to break into tech. So how can we help them? What are the and making the complex understandable is something that is critical for a developer advocate. You need to be able to talk, in details about the technology, but you need to be able to elevate your speech to make yourself understandable to the masses.
And okay, so I'm geared towards that, but what about the DevRel? Do you have any insights on there that you can find that I can really make the decisions between the two, or
different roles? So okay,
yep.
If you see yourself as a generalist, for example, you are a technologist, you like everything, you like to build in the cloud, and you like to engage with the community and inspire others to build. I think this is a great role, a great path to go on a regional DA, because they really need to talk about everything. They need to talk about AI, ML one day, and then security, and then they could be talking about serverless, and then containers. So it's a mix of things, and for many people, it's great, because you have a huge toolbox available to you, and then you guide others to use that huge toolbox. So that's super interesting, and also. You get to build your different communities in your territory, in your geo. So that can be great. Others may feel that they belong to a specific audience. So, for example, I am a software engineer. I feel I am a network engineer, or I am a solution architect. So with this, I feel that in my team, there's it will be a good fit, because, for example, as I said, the people in my team who are engaging with the data scientist community, they are data scientists themselves, and they experiment, they build models, and they explain how to use SageMaker in this context, or even other open source framework and so on. So you need to belong to one category and willing to engage specifically with that community and represent that community internally. So I would say that's the main difference between being a regional DA and a specialist DA.
I don't know about my audience, but I think that really helps me understand where or what I should apply for. As a generalist, though, there's 200 and some plus services and unique about each one of those, but I can see a transition where you start to get specialized in one and then move over to a DA. Let's talk about your team. You have some roles still open, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, the team is growing a lot. So basically, I joined developer relations in May of last year, and took over this role of head of a specialist. And my goal is really to help those different builders, understand the possibilities, and then have a voice internally relayed by our DAs. So I have already a big group, and this group is expanding. So what I'm looking for today, I have different needs actually, because
let's list them all out. Because
okay,
if I'm serious, because if my listeners are listening right now and they're hanging on, we know they are. You seem to be like an awesome leader to work for. So I'm encouraging people to apply. Let's talk about some of the roles, list them out. I'll post them on the screen. I'll share them in the description. We don't have to go through each one. You can just list on a couple, but your immediate needs. And then we're going to talk about applying and maybe the loop process and interview.
Yeah. So data is a big theme for us and for our customers. And I think there is an opportunity for us to do a better job at explaining how to use AWS to manage your data. So which database should you use? I mean, you have maybe 11 database today on AWS, and they are, purpose built for different use cases. So how do you choose that? So I need someone who can help that audience to understand and make the choice. So we are looking for people who are opinionated and they have that background experience that can guide others. And the first job is a DA who is going to focus on data engineering. Another role is another specialist on AI ML. So someone who is going to engage with the data scientist population, but also with software engineers to use AI services. So you don't have to be an expert in machine learning to be able to use AI services, because we have higher level of services like transcribe or recognition, who are just basically APIs that you can call to use machine learning capabilities. So someone who has that experience of using AI ML practically to build application, and someone that will be passionate about inspiring others to do the same and guide them. That's one of the roles in my team. And
does that also help them encourage to use Deep Racer? Because I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, so Deep Racer is indeed something that fall into that category. But as I said, I mean, we are not product specialists. We are really working backwards from our audience and trying to find the best tools and the best options for customers to build in the cloud. And sometimes those solutions are open source tools that live outside of AWS. And it's important for us and for our audience that they know that those tools are available out there and they can use them. So, but yeah, Deep Racer is a good example indeed.
Romain, before you say another role, I like how you mentioned that you're kind of you might push a customer towards like an open source, something that's outside of AWS. Right there alone, you're establishing and building trust with the customer, saying, you know what? There's something better out there. We can't provide it. We did take note of this. It is a request we're sending back, but this is the best tool right now available for you. I think you just are establishing a huge trust between the community.
Yeah, so my team is doing that very well. I mean, one of my DA, Ricardo Sueras, is our expert on open source, and every week he's sending a newsletter, and you can find him also on Dev2, where he's listing the key open source projects that are happening in the community that can help improve the developer experience. So another example of no, it's not only about AWS, but it's about helping the community, build. So that's a good example. So I was talking about data. So that's a big theme that covers data engineering, analytics, AI, ML, and databases. And this is a group which is growing a lot. And for that, I'm also looking for a leader to help me and to take care of the existing team and grow that team. And so I'm looking for someone who cares about people and who is committed to help them grow and inspire others to join. So that's the third role that I have.
Romain, I'm going to post all these in the description
Okay.
below, the roles that you are looking for. I encourage you after or during listening to this podcast, you may pause it to go apply, but come back because you're going to miss out on some cool things. I will add them, and I want to see, I think I'm going to follow up with you to see how many people have actually followed through and maybe applied after listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
I would be really curious. All right, Romain, I've applied now. I'm talking to you. I have the interview, and maybe you want to talk about the interview and then the loop process, and we'll wrap things up from there.
Perfect. That sounds good. So the process is that it starts with the phone screen, and the phone screen really focuses on the functional fit. So this is where you explain what you have done and give us example of what you have achieved, because this is how we can assess the technical depth and also the impact that you have had so far. And this is critical for us to understand whether or not you will be able to join our team and will be a great addition to the team. So the phone screen is led by some of my most senior DAs. And they are looking for the next colleague to join them, and they care. I mean, it's a great experience for interviews and for interviewers and candidates, because we want that experience. We really want to make it a great experience. So there's no coding style type of interviews. We really want to understand what you have achieved and give us details, how you did things, what technology stack have you used, what did you do? Because we is a common word that we understand, that we hear in interviews. What we want is to understand, I did this, I implement this. Why? Because it mattered for my customers, because I understood what my customers were trying to achieve, and that guided my direction. Because we are a customer obsessed company, right? And we are looking for candidates who are also customer obsessed. So we really want to understand, why are you doing things? Not because your boss asked you to do something, but because it mattered to your customers.
The we is really tough for people. I've been through the process, or any interview process, somebody who is, I don't want to say humble, right? You don't want to be like, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to say, I did this, because you don't want to take credit for, a team. But the key that Robin's trying to get to is they want to understand exactly what was your contribution. They need to, it's okay to talk about yourself. One of the things is, what did you build? And Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, what did you build? Why'd you build it? Who'd you build it for? What was your community involvement within some of this? And how did you get people engaged? Did you write something for it? Did you attend an event? And were there quantitative numbers that you could follow up with? Because as an ex-Amazonian, data drives all. They want to understand what was the total thing. Don't be vague, be specific. So am I correct?
That's exactly correct. Yeah. I mean, as you said, Amazon is a data-driven company. And what it means that we don't interview on gut feelings. We are trying to collect data points. We want to understand what the candidate has done and what were their contribution, as you said. So it's okay to talk about we because you were part of a team who delivered a project, and that's good for the context. But when we want to talk about specifics, we want to understand what did you do. So that's super important for us, and we can collect that data so to make a good assessment of your application and say, yes, this person has achieved that, that project and with this level of complexity. So we believe that they have the technical depth and their impact was big. So we definitely want them in the team.
Romain, I assume that it's going to be critical that they've had speaking opportunities. Maybe they've had videos out there, something that they contribute to. There was an event that they did, because the communication is really key that you mentioned.
Yeah. So indeed, I mean, for our roles, we expect people to be able to be seen out there and have that experience engaging with the community. That's critical. So this is where I think I'm creating a new type of role, which I call content DAs, and those people are really focusing on creating awesome content, and not as regular DA who is doing a mix of great content, talks, engaging with the community, traveling to conferences and so on. This one is a bit more focused. You still need to engage with the community, probably mostly online, to understand their needs and so on. But really the focus is on creating great content. It could be videos, it could be blogs, for example, or tutorials. But yeah, that's a bit, So overall, the communication is super important. The media can vary, I would say.
You said you're working on creating this role, so it's an upcoming role, and by the time this video gets out, maybe this role is available?
No, the two roles are already open. So for
the one you said for content DA.
Yeah, so I have two openings for content DAs. One.
Oh, so they're available.
Yeah. So one is focusing on web and mobile, and the other one is focusing on cloud infrastructure.
All right, folks, I'm going to include some more roles in the description below on the scene. Romain, I think my YouTube description is going to be filled up with these, but that's all right.
Good. Perfect.
So right, Romain,
let's talk about the phone screen. So now let's talk about the next step. So the next step is what we call internally the loop, which is still called on-site interviews, although they are all virtual those days. But basically, it's a series of interviews with one specific interviewer, and the main outcome of this series is to assess whether the candidate is Amazonian, so whether they operate, following our guiding principles, our leadership principles. So now we have 16 leadership principles, and of course for DAs, there are specific there are some leadership principles that are more important than others, like earn trust, as you said earlier, or deliver results, or ownership, and of course customer obsession. So when you prepare, and you have to prepare, I mean, you can be a great speaker, but if you come unprepared to an interview like ours, it won't be a great experience, because what we are asking from you is to come up with examples of what you have achieved. And we look at those examples through the lens of the leadership principles. So think about what you have achieved. So it's require a lot of introspection on what you have achieved so far. And I think it's a great exercise. As a candidate, it was a great experience for me. Stressful, I agree, but it's a great experience because you need to think about, okay, what I've achieved so far, and why did it matter? And those are critical questions that you should ask yourself before coming to the interview.
I know a number of people that will prepare like 2 weeks for the on-site, like day in and day out of, really kind of honing in their story on their leadership principles, then providing examples, specific examples. I did it massively. And so ours was still on site. I went up to New York. I was up there for the Loop. It was 6 hours, whatever. When I was done, I didn't want to talk to anybody on the phone. I had the music off driving back from New York. I just wanted total peace because it is stressful, but it's worth it in the end. You kind of start to feel and understand why AWS does this, why they pull these questions out and why they're looking for it. And, and why there's multiple interviewers, so that they can get different perspectives throughout the whole entire process. So as much as you said it's stressful, I did find it enjoyable in, I guess, a weird way.
Hopefully, I mean, that's our goal for any candidate. We really want to deliver the best experience. So even if in the end we don't select them, we don't offer them a job, I think we are really keen on making that experience the best that we can, and so that people can enjoy and they feel listened to. So I think it's important.
All right, Romain, before we wrap things up, do you have anything you want to leave with the audience? Like click that apply button, or hey.
Yeah, I mean, click that apply button is a good one. But if you are passionate about what you do, I think DA is a great role, but you can also be part of the community. So we have community programs, because you may love your job at the moment and don't want to leave it, but you may want also to do more. So feel free to join our AWS communities like Heroes or Community Builders. It's a great community where you can learn from each other, you can create content, and you can get some feedback also to get better at what you do. And I think it's a great also experience. So yeah.
Robert, one more question. I actually just thought of it, and I want to clear the air that you don't have to necessarily have AWS knowledge to apply for these roles, correct?
That's correct. Actually, I do have people who joined my team recently who had limited experience with AWS. And actually, that makes their story even better, because they come from the same background than what our customers are facing. I mean, for example, I hired Duan Lightfoot. He's a network engineer. He has been working in his industry for several years, and now he's moving to the cloud with us, and he's able to explain that journey to other people who are also beginning to consider the cloud and who are afraid about the cloud, and having that empathy is one of the best quality for a good DA. So being in that in their shoes and explaining, okay, this is what I'm feeling at the moment, or the question I'm wondering about the cloud as a network engineer or as a security engineer who has never worked on AWS. I think it's a great experience for that.
I agree with you. Okay, everyone, guess what? We're going to wrap things up. And we were talking about AWS Developer Advocates, DevRels, and how Evangelist is DevRels with Head of Developer Advocate Specialist, Romain Jourdan. Romain, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
I got to tell you, man, this was fun, and I hope to do this again.
Perfect. Okay, let's do that.
All right. You know what? You heard it here, folks. It's on the recording, because guess what? We're out of here.